What is going on, guys? Welcome to the next team reveal of my top 5 teams to take into franchise mode that would offer you a challenge, whether that's salary negotiations, whether that's just overall team building, whatever have you. The Houston Texans are the next team in my top 5 list. If you guys have not seen the other 3, please go check that out. We cover the Green Bay Packers, San Francisco 49ers, and Tennessee Titans. So without further ado, let's go ahead now and take a look at the Houston Texans salary situation. And they're in kind of a weird spot because when we start looking at the roster here, we've got some young guys like Justin Reed, we've got old guys like Linval Joseph, Gibson Jr., Merciless at 29. He's coming off the books. Brandon McKinney's pretty young at 26. Watson's young. Fuller is young, 25 and 23. So the Texans are in a weird position because they've got guys with some veteran skill, veteran presence like J.J. Watt, Hopkins, Clowney's pretty young. Miller is a veteran at 28. But it's kind of in, like I said, kind of in that weird scenario where the older guys that have been here haven't been able to get it done and help Bill O'Brien and help this franchise push the needle and win some playoff games and potentially win a Super Bowl. This group of guys hasn't been able to do it. It's a very talented group of players, but they haven't been able to do it. So the task that you're going to have when you take over the Houston Texans is how are you going to structure this roster? Who are you going to keep? Who are you going to keep around, especially when you start considering some of the older guys? Are you going to have enough cap space in order to sign the younger guys that are starting to come off the books, like Deshaun Watson? He's only got 2 seasons left with you if you take on the Texans here. And with that superstar dev trait, he's only going to get better. Escape artist ability, agile extender. These are good abilities for Deshaun Watson, especially with his speed at the quarterback position. We'll look at that right here. He's got 84 speed, 88 excel, 88 agility. He's going to be a good one. I think Deshaun Watson might have a really, really good season in 2019, and he'd be really fun to take into franchise mode for Madden 20. His rookie season, guys, I thought he was going to be just taking that huge next step in 2018, which he did. He did. 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 68% completion percentage compared to 61. He only got better. And then when you look at the rushing yards, he had almost 100 attempts and almost doubled the rushing yard production with 5 touchdowns. So you want to talk about a guy that's coming into his own, and he could be in for a huge season in 2019. This would be your guy. 8.3 yards per attempt, 8.2 yards per attempt. Very consistent. Over 4,100 yards passing. Dude, Deshaun Watson is the man, and it would be really fun to take him into franchise mode, especially because he can do anything. He can throw it, he can run it. You can run any type of offense you want through him, whether you're going to scramble around and be that runner like Michael Vick style, or you're going to be the type of guy doing, bombing it all over the place. He's got enough arm strength to get it done. Deshaun Watson would be really fun to use. And then you've got a running back situation that is kind of, I don't know what the Texans are doing. They ended up cutting Deonta Foreman a couple days ago, and so he's no longer with the team. Lamar Miller's got 1 season left on the books for the Texans, and he wasn't even asking for a whole lot of money. Got the star dev trait, which is fair. 1,000-yard rusher 2 times in his NFL career. Has made it pretty close. The rest of the seasons, 973, 888, 872. Good touchdown totals, good touchdown numbers. He can do it all. He can catch the ball out of the backfield too. So he's a good back. It's just, again, are you going to want to spend the money for an 85, potentially an 88 by season's end running back? He's only going to get older, and he's only going to start regressing. If you guys know the usual number here, usually when you hit to be an 8 or 10-year pro at running back, age 28 season, you're pretty much falling off. So Lamar Miller's pretty much got one more shot at being productive until you want to start talking about maybe becoming a backup, if you maybe even a short-term contract. But it's a situation you want to monitor. Even if you want to keep it realistic, you can cut Foreman, you can let him go, save the roster, go back in, and then he won't be there. Then it won't count against your cap space or your cap penalties. But the thing that I would love to do is kind of see what D'Onta Foreman could have done if he had gotten a shot, if he had been healthy. It's a video game. It's like, why not? Why not let him go? And, not let him go, but let him run. Let him run this offense a little bit behind Deshaun Watson. He's young, 2-year pro. He's got the normal dev trait, so that kind of stinks. But something to consider. And are you going to draft a guy? You're going to draft a running back to get that position battle heated up there if you decide to sign Lamar Miller again. Looking at wide receiver, obviously it's a very, very talented group, possibly the most talented group on the entire roster. Hopkins, Fuller, and Kute, that's money. That's money in my opinion. It's nice and balanced, 99, 82, 73, and they're locked up for short to long term. You got 4 years left for Hopkins, 2 for Fuller, Kute for 3. You're doing some good stuff here. I mean, you're getting Will Fuller here on his rookie contract, Kute on his rookie contract, who was drafted late. He's going to start producing for this team in the slot. Obviously, Hopkins and Fuller can do anything, especially in the deep routes. So wide receivers, they're pretty much set. You don't really have to worry about the passing game too much. Tight end, man, outside of CJ Fedorowicz, that's, I wish that he was back. I wish that he was healthy and able to play. But they have tried to figure out tight end for some time now. And Daniel Fells, former Detroit Lion, and I believe Arizona Cardinal is going to be the starting tight end. Then you got Thomas here backing him up. Very, very young, 23. So he can grow into that role. But again, he's got normal dev trait. And that's going to be a common thing, a very common thing you're going to notice with this Texans team. A lot of normal dev traits, not a whole lot of star or superstar or anything like that that's going to speed it up at all. So Daniel Fells, pretty good tight end. I don't know if you want to plan your future on him, he's 33. You're mostly going to be signing him for short-term contracts, but that's a position that you might need to look at early in drafts or try to make a free agent splash for a guy. Then you got Matt Khalil, 30 years old, 69 overall. Max Sharping from Northern Illinois was just drafted last season. He's making about 1.3, 1.6 at the very tail end of his contract, so maybe he gets into the 70s. But again, you could do better at left tackle. It needs work. And this is really why I was talking about why it would be fun to be the Houston Texans, because if you want your identity to be throwing the football, it's not going to be with this offensive line. So you're going to want to do a little bit better, want to focus on the line. Deshaun Watson's going to be running for his life out there. So, the guy did have 62 sacks last season on him. So that's not good. That needs to get fixed up. Clemente, former New Orleans Saint, 69 overall right now. Rankin, 63. So again, could do better. Martin, a 70. Mance, a 61. Again, 1 year remaining there. Then you got Zach Fulton, probably the best offensive lineman on the team at 75 overall. You've got him for a long-term contract at 3 years, making $7 million towards the tail end. He's got the star dev trait, so you can't really do too bad with Zach Fulton. Just look at his numbers here. 85 strength, but 69 run block, 79 pass block. That's really what's saving this overall for Fulton. He's not going to be a run blocking right guard, which that hurts, especially when you're a guard. You want to be able to run block as a guard, and he just doesn't do that very well. And then you got Howard, Henderson, and Leonard. This is terrible. This offensive line is very, very bad. That would probably be priority number one for me if I'm taking over the Texans, is we want to solve that offensive line. Looking at the left end position, we've got Carlos Watkins from Clemson and J.J. Watt. Obviously, J.J. Watt being one of the best players in all of the NFL. 8-year pro out of Wisconsin, 97 overall. The fear-monger, superstar X Factor. Some pass rushers intimidate quarterbacks with their sheer presence. When they enter the zone, they can apply a significant pressure on quarterbacks, even when engaged with blockers. So, what fearmonger actually does, I would assume that it just applies pressure when there's not really a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? So even when he's engaged in a blocker, you've now forced the quarterback to make a under pressure type of throw, which affects their accuracy. So that's obviously really huge for J.J. Watt in the defense. Edge threat elite and strip specialist. So you want to get on that edge and really hit that running back hard. Maybe even just make the routine tackle. He's going to be able to try to strip that football and cause some turnover. So J.J. Watt going to be a big-time player for the Houston Texans again in 2019. Got some good depth with Reeder, Blackson, Heath. It's a pretty decent group at left end and right end. But the defensive tackle position needs some work. I know that they like to run some 3-4s every now and then, but you can do better. You can do better at nose tackle. Dunn can cut it, but it's not a long-term answer. Left outside linebacker, we have Whitney Merciless, one of the better players on the team. He's 29 years old, making $7.3 million. Got 1 year remaining, and it's, again, that situation where it's a good player. You could try to win a championship with this defense. It's a very good defense, possibly maybe even the best part of the roster. Granted, the offense is pretty decent as it is, but the offensive line is really going to hold it back. I like this defense with Merciless, Watt, Carlos Watkins, McKinney, Cunningham, who's a 77. He's got the star dev trait, 2-year pro out of Vandy. He's a good player. And then we got McKinney here as an 83, which we can actually upgrade after the preseason, which, boom, there you go. It's up to an 84. And let's see what he's got here. So he does have that star dev trait as well. He's only a 4-year pro. So you could build a championship defense, and I think that's what Bill O'Brien's really trying to do. He's really just trying to acquire offensive playmakers and just let somebody else handle it, because the defense doesn't look too bad. You've also got Dylan Cole here, who can get an upgrade to a 73, so he's a pretty solid linebacker for the team. Nice little sub type of guy. And then you got Scarlett, who can do some things. So the linebackers are good. Linebackers are really good. It's actually, that might actually be the best part of this team. You got Joe Ford, Clowney at a 92. He's 1 year left on his contract. No bonus though, which is good. But again, it just depends on what you want to do, because you got Ejiofor coming up and Clowney is leaving. I would personally try to re-sign Jadeveon Clowney, because again, this is a championship caliber defense, my friends. Maybe we'll look at the secondary in just a minute, but when you got Cunningham, McKinney, Clowney, and Merciless, and then you got Watt in there, the only thing that you need to do is just figure out defensive tackle and nose tackle, and you should be set. You should be good. Let's take a look at the defensive backs here, though. This is probably not the best part of the team. I called him Linval Joseph earlier. It's Jonathan Joseph. My apologies. Probably lost so much cred in that. But Jonathan Joseph, I actually ran a Houston Texans franchise, and I played well with Jonathan Joseph all the time. And I don't know how I screwed that up. Linval Joseph. Jonathan Joseph being the best DB. I guess Bradley Roby might give that name some competition during the 2019 season. He's a pretty good one. Aaron Colvin, a 75. Batamosi, 69. Johnson Jr., 68. So it's not too young. It's got some vets in here, 29, 27. It needs to be looked at. You probably need to consider offensive line and cornerback to get better in that regard. But you got Justin Reed back there out of Stanford, who's an 84 overall in this game. That's really great. And then Buddy Calhoun at a 75, so that's okay. Gibson an 83, and then Adai 77. That's a pretty good, strong safety, free safety depth there, but it comes down to the corners, and it comes down to the offensive line for me. Those are some pretty important positions, but, again, the pass rush and the linebackers for this defense, that's going to be the strong part and the strength of this Houston Texans football team. That is your roster and your contract outlook. I would think, though, like when you're looking at the contract situation, you got $24.8 in cap space. You're paying $175 million in salaries, but the majority of that is coming from Watt, Hopkins, McKinney, and then Colvin. Colvin's making a crap ton of money, but that's mostly because you have him for 3 years. So it's the longevity of the contract. You guys can see a pattern here, 3, 4, 5, 3. Merciless, one of the highest paid players, only got 1 year left. And then Zach Fulton, 3 years left. Lamar Miller. You might want to maybe even consider just not even attempting to run the football and just letting Lamar Miller go. That might be a strategy you might want to employ going into the next few seasons. If you decide to let Lamar Miller go, you're saving some money. Maybe just sign a cheap running back, because that offensive line, guys, that offensive line is not going to be able to run the football effectively. I'm just telling you, you're not going to be able to do it. Not with the guys that are in here. 69s, 61s. I mean, it's not good. It's not good. So this is going to be a pass-happy offense for sure. It just depends on what type of pass-happy offense you're wanting to run. Are you going to want to scramble with Watson? Or are you going to want to sling it all over the field, kind of West Coasty, get the ball out quick, short routes, that type of thing, intermediate routes, maybe challenge deep every now and then. But that's your Houston Texans salary cap and roster preview. I think that they're a fun team to consider just because of the contract situation and the type of players that they have. That defense would be really fun to stop people with. It's really up and coming. We got some young players there, got a good group, got a good core, and they've got offensive playmakers and weapons that you can utilize to however you want to mold it. Really, you can do anything you want with that offense, and I think you'd have some success. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the season schedule. I'll make a little prediction here to end the video out. So the Texans in real life are kind of hard to read, but I do want to provide you guys kind of the schedule reveal here, just so you guys can kind of see from the roster reveal the overall ratings as well, how you might be able to fare against this schedule. See, obviously, schedule plays a huge part in the success of your team and the outlook of your team going forward. And the Texans are kind of a hard team to read. I don't think they're going to beat the Saints on the road in the opening game on Monday night. I don't think that's going to happen. It could turn into a shootout with Deshaun Watson. It easily could. I just don't think they're going to get it done. So I think they're going to go 0-1 here. I think they'll get a W against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't really believe in Nick Foles. I think that just going back home, Sunday 1 o'clock game, they should be able to get that W to move to 1-1. An upset here, I think Houston can beat the LA Chargers. And this is obviously going off of just a preseason prediction here in August. Okay, this could easily turn into something else. Maybe Deshaun Watson gets a season-ending injury, something like that. But I think that they can hang with the LA Chargers. The Chargers have a really good defense. Phillip Rivers, I've seen him screw up multiple times in his career. And then we don't know what's going to happen with the Melvin Gordon situation. He's requesting a trade, so we don't know what's going to happen there. I think that the Texans will win this game to move to 2-1. They will beat the Panthers to go to 3-1. Falcons, I think that they could hang in there with the Falcons. I think they're right there with them. Falcons with a really, really good defense. Takarius McKinley. You've got Deion Jones, Keanu Neal, Vic Beasley. Like, this defense for Atlanta is really, really good, really, really talented. I think the Falcons will win this game, though, on the road. And let's see, what did we say here? Loss, win, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1. They'll be 3-2 here against the Falcons. Chiefs, they're going to move to 3-3. Colts on the road. Colts always seem to give them some problems. They'll go to 3-4. 4-4 here against the Raiders. They'll get the W there. On the road against the Jaguars, I think they'll get the W. I think they'll sweep the Jaguars in the season. They'll be 5-4. Get a good bye week. Baltimore Ravens, I think they'll challenge Lamar Jackson. I think that they can go to 6-4 here. 7-4 against the Colts. Patriots would be a loss. They never really do well against the Pats, so I think they're going to go 7-5 here. Broncos, 8-5. Titans. They could go 9-5 here. 10-5 against the Buccaneers and against the Titans at home. They could go 11-5. I think that the Houston Texans have a shot to go 11-5 if the defense becomes an elite unit and Deshaun Watson even progresses off of his really great 2018 season. All those ifs need to happen for the Titans to go 11-5 and make the playoffs yet again and win the AFC South. So that's going to be it for today's episode, guys, of why would X team be fun in Madden 20? I'd love to know your thoughts on the Houston Texans little preview here. What team are you guys going into Madden 20 with, and why? What are some interesting factoids you want to bust out on me to let me know what team you're going to be using in your franchise mode? I'd love to know. So, guys, leave a like if you like this thing, and as always, peace.